I stood by Trinh Tionnier, enduring everything right alongside her for 6 long years.
From the exact moment a severe car crash left her paralyzed and fighting through intense rehab, all the way to her finally reclaiming the chairman's seat at Trinh T, everyone honestly believed my hardest days were over, and the reward was here. Between the subtle hints dropped by the old butler and the highly favorable moves from the board of directors, absolutely everyone believed I was finally about to get the official title I truly deserved. That is, until this very afternoon, when I accidentally searched for an old contract in the bottom drawer of Trinh Tonnier's private study. And instead, my fingers brushed against a share transfer agreement meant for her ex.
6 years of deep affection instantly shattered into pieces. That final verdict sitting quietly in the drawer proved I had thrown away 16 whole years for Trinh Tionnier.
From the very beginning of her brutal recovery after the accident, right up until she sat back down as the absolute master of Trinh T, people kept saying that this illegitimate son of the Trent family, the guy who never left her side when Trinh Tionnier was at her absolute lowest, was finally about to get his payback. Even Chu Chun, the longtime butler of the Trinh family, secretly whispered to me out in the garden, "Tiểu Ao, next month is the eldest young Mrs. birthday." The old master said he is throwing a midnight banquet at the main estate, and by then there will definitely be a clear decision made for your future. My hands, which were busy pruning the roses, suddenly stopped moving, and the corners of my mouth curled up into a faint, empty smile. I told Chu Chun to stop guessing blindly, but he insisted he wasn't, lowering his voice even more. Just last week during the board meeting, the young miss literally fought for you to get the chief technology officer position, even slamming the table right at those stubborn old fools. How could you possibly not understand her true intentions? I didn't say a single word back. Instead, I just kept pruning the flowers, the sharp scissors snapping cleanly through the branches with tiny, crisp sounds. Did I understand her? Yeah. Maybe I used to. 6 years ago, when Trinh Tionnier sat in her wheelchair and completely shattered her third vase of the day, I was the one kneeling in the ruins to pick up every single piece. My palms got cut open so badly they were completely ruined. She just stared with red eyes, voice completely hoarse, saying she was totally useless now. Chu Lum doesn't want me anymore, and absolutely nobody else wants me either. That was actually the very first time she ever cried in front of me.
The proud Trinh Tionnier, who didn't shed a single tear even when her life was ruined and doctors said she might be paralyzed forever. Yet she completely broke down like a little girl the moment news arrived that her fiancé had called off the wedding.
I just looked up at her, dark crimson drops sliding down my wrists and staining the carpet with deep, heavy marks.
Trinh Tionnier, I actually need you.
Not out of mere sympathy, and definitely not out of pity. That little seed was actually planted 6 full years ago, back when this proud young miss was surrounded by stars in the bright hallway. And the Trent family casually handed a piece of candy to me, the illegitimate son hiding quietly in the dark. Much later, when she was literally breaking down from pure agony during her intense rehab sessions, I was the one staying awake all night just to massage her severely atrophied muscles. She hurt so much she tore her own lips, so I just offered my arm. I told her to bite me, just stop hurting herself. And she really did bite, leaving deep teeth marks that took forever to fade away. When she was learning to walk again and fell for the 17th time, her knees were completely bruised and torn apart. I just picked her up, listening to her quietly sobbing right against my chest. How, am I really never going to stand up again? I told her that would never happen, adding that even if she truly couldn't stand, I would gladly carry her forever. But listen to how crazy this gets. At the absolute peak of the Trinh Ngup's civil war, her half-brother, Trinh Chi Vien, actually hired thugs to ambush our car. I took a heavy blade straight for her. That strike missed my heart by exactly 3 centimeters. Right outside the surgery room, Trinh Tionnier gripped my hand and refused to let go, her burning hot tears falling onto the back of my hand. She asked what she would even do if I didn't make it. The anesthesia hadn't completely kicked in yet, so I just gave a weak smile. I told her she would just have to remember me for her entire life. Honestly, I really wanted to ask her to marry me right then, but I kept quiet. Being an illegitimate son is like carrying a red-hot brand. Even though the Tring family acknowledged me, even after taking a blade for them, it still never felt like enough.
I wanted to wait until she could stand firmly on her own, until Trinity was completely stable.
I wanted to wait until I could proudly and properly stand beside her without the whole world mocking me as some desperate clinger. I genuinely thought we had more than enough time.
But here is where the entire illusion shatters. I casually pulled open that bottom drawer, and the share transfer agreement was sitting right there. The paper was perfectly crisp, the ink already dry. The beneficiary's name clearly spelled out two bold words, Chu Lum. The exact same young master of the Chu family, who happily got engaged when Trinkdale Nee was at her absolute peak, only to cancel everything and completely vanish when tragedy struck. Now that she's back on top, he shamelessly crawls back to cling on to her. I just stood there in silence, holding the document for a long time, the evening light fading outside, dyeing the entire study a deep crimson. Every single memory from the last 6 full years flashed right before my eyes like an old movie. Her heavily sweat-soaked hair during our rehab sessions, that look of pure, joyful shock the very first time she finally managed to walk on her own.
And that tight hug on the day she returned to Tring when she told me she had finally done it.
Turns out, all of that meant absolutely nothing compared to Chu Lum simply looking back at her. Trinkdale Nie's voice suddenly echoed out, asking what I was looking at. From behind, I shut the drawer tight, and by the time I turned around, my face was completely emotionless. I casually lied, saying I was just looking for her last medical report, reminding her it was time for a checkup. Trinkdale Nie doesn't suspect a thing, just walks over and sits behind her desk. She rubs her temples. Next week, maybe. This week she has to visit To Tang with Chu Lum for some project. The Chu family wants to jump into cultural tourism, and there is a pretty nice plot of land over there. I just look at her. She is still as stunning as ever. Long wavy hair tied in a loose bun, showing off that pale neck. Her expensive silk shirt wrapping perfectly around a frame that is slender, but surprisingly strong. That is the exact same body I spent 3 whole years helping her rebuild, little by little. And now, she is taking it to To Tang with someone else entirely. Chu Lum has been coming around pretty often lately, hasn't he? I hear my own voice sound completely calm. Last Wednesday, this Monday, and now today again. Trinkdale Nie freezes for a second and looks up at me. His family business hit a little snag, so I am just lending a hand. Ho how, do not overthink this. I reply right back by handing over 3% of Trinity's core shares. I smile, but it does not reach my eyes. And it is the exact portion the old master left behind, just to keep you safe. The room goes dead quiet, and Trinkdale Nie's face instantly darkens. You went through my things. I just saw it by accident. Now watch this confrontation unfold. I plant both my hands on the edge of her desk, lean down, and ask, so it is actually true? You are really transferring the shares the old master told you never to touch right before he passed away to a guy who completely abandoned you.
Ho how. Trinkdale Nie shoots up, that walks right up to me, half a head shorter, but with an aura that totally overwhelms. Chu Lum needs these shares to secure his spot in the Chu family.
This is just a business deal. He will pay me back tenfold later. I stare back. Pay you back with what, exactly? I ask her, my voice incredibly light, almost like a whisper. With the time he canceled the wedding 6 years ago, saying he wouldn't marry a cripple. Or maybe this fake kindness he has been bringing around for 6 months.
Trinkdale Nie, I need you to look closely. The only thing he wants is Trinity. It is definitely not you. She suddenly raises her voice. What do you even understand?
Chu Lum had his own bitter reasons for breaking the engagement back then. The Chu family could barely survive, and his parents literally threatened extreme measures to force his hand. So he chose his clan and abandoned you. I cut her off immediately. Now that Trinity is booming, he suddenly turns around and chooses you again.
Trinkdale Nie, since when did you become so easy to fool? Ho how. She swings her arm to slap me, but that strike never actually lands.
I catch her wrist in midair. Out of the entire 6 years we have been together, this is the very first time I use force against her.
Not out of anger, but out of pure sorrow. Tring Tiao Nye. I look right at her. 6 long years, and this is the first time I have ever called her by her full name like this. I stayed by your side for 6 years, helped you stand up from that wheelchair, helped you take back Trenti, went through all that sweat and tears with you. Does none of it equal him just turning his head?
Trịnh Tiểu Nghệ violently saw my hand away, her chest heaving heavily.
This has nothing to do with you. Ho Hao, you are the most important person to me. But Chulem is the one I love.
I finish the sentence for her. I nod slowly, take a step back, and then take another step back until I hit the study room door.
I grip the handle tight. The freezing metal against my skin finally snaps me out of it and brings a little clarity back into my mind.
Right, I get it now. I open the door and step right out, without looking back a single time, knowing Tring Tiao Nye is still standing completely frozen in place.
You can feel the heavy regret in the room, right? I sense her stare burning into my back as my footsteps fade into that totally suffocating silence.
Maybe she actually wants to call out to me, to explain something.
But the pride of being the chairman of Trinity keeps her lips totally sealed. She is Tring Tiao Nye, someone who never feels the need to explain herself to anyone.
After that intense day, I never bring up those company shares to her ever again.
I still prepare breakfast, remind her to take her medicine, and do physical therapy with her, purely out of habit.
Even though I know perfectly well her legs are fully healed, she could sprint in high heels right now, and it wouldn't be a problem at all.
But because she is so used to having me right by her side for training, I just stay there. She genuinely thinks I have accepted reality, and she even breathes a deep sigh of relief. She figures I am finally being reasonable, knowing exactly what to ask and what to stay quiet about. Wednesday evening rolls around. Chu Lim drives up in his shiny black Maybach to pick her up for To Tang.
He steps out himself, circles around to open her door with this perfectly warm, gem-like smile. Tiao Nye, it has been a while. It really has been a long time.
Yeah, if you don't count the last 6 months where he treated Trinity like his local grocery store.
Out of pure instinct, Tring Tiao Nye looks back over her shoulder. I am standing right by the second-floor window, watching them quietly, keeping my face totally blank and unreadable. What are you looking at? Chu Lim follows her exact gaze.
Oh, assistant whore? Is he really still crashing at your place? His tone carries this barely hidden layer of disgust.
Trịnh Tiểu Nghệ frowns deeply. Ho Hao không an assistant. He is the chief technology officer. You know that. Chu Lim just smirks, shuts the car door, and brushes it right off.
He is still just a hired worker for your family at the end of the day. Tiao Nye, you are seriously spoiling him way too much.
The luxury car drives off, leaving me standing there like a single lonely shadow fading into the dark night.
Just last night, I reminded her that her stomach meds were in the second nightstand drawer, making sure she packed them. I am always like this, handling every single little detail for her.
Their 3 days in Totan must have been completely packed with banquets and projects.
From what I heard, Chu Lim plays the perfect partner, taking her drinks, offering his coat. But maybe Trent Tiao Nye is finally starting to feel like something is not quite right.
On the 4th night, with the alcohol kicking in inside the hotel elevator, Chu Lim suddenly grabs her hand tight.
He tells her he regrets what happened back then every single day. His hand feels warm, but to her, it burns like absolute fire.
She says it is all in the past, trying to pull away, but he grips harder. Not for him, he insists. For 6 whole years, he never stopped missing her. He knows he lacks the right to speak up now, but thanks her for the shares. Once he secures the Chu family, he promises to pay her back 10 times over.
Trịnh Tiểu Nghệ stared right into those eyes that used to completely mesmerize her, finding them entirely alien now.
She calls him by name. That share transfer is strictly about future cooperation between the Trink and Chu families. Pure business. She tells him not to overthink it. His smile freezes up for a split second before returning to normal. He claims he understands, but insists that to her, he was never just simple business. The elevator stops right there. Trin Tiao Nye quickly rushes out. Right about now, she probably starts missing me. If it were me, I would never say something like that in an elevator. I would just quietly hand her water and tell her to drink up and sober up. Instead, she texts me, heading back to the city tomorrow.
Landing at 3 p.m. I wait a very long time before finally replying. Things were never like this before. Back then,
Whenever she'd travel for work, I would ask for her flight number and arrive early. The next afternoon, when her plane lands, only a driver is waiting.
In the car, she gets my text. Just a simple received, as cold as if I were a complete stranger.
by 4 p.m., she gets home. The villa is dead silent. Sunlight streams right through the windows, dust dancing lightly in the empty air.
She calls out my name, Ho Hao, but nobody answers, so she sprints upstairs. The master bedroom is empty, and the study is completely deserted. Finally, she pushes my bedroom door wide open. Empty wardrobe. Inside the bathroom, my razor, my toothbrush, and my towel have all vanished without a trace. On the nightstand sits a single light gray folder. Now watch this moment. Tring Tielnye's hands actually start shaking as she flips that folder open. Inside are 6 specific documents, all arranged in chronological order. The very first one is a surgical consent form from exactly 6 years ago.
The family's signature belongs to me, Ho Hao, the ink pressed deep into the paper. Back then, her parents were overseas and could not return in time.
I had signed it under the title of her fiancé, even though we were never actually engaged. Document 2 is a notarized paper from 4 years back. My biological father, Lam Chung, wanted his illegitimate son back to inherit a massive multi-million-dollar empire. I signed away all inheritance rights because Tring Tianye just had her second surgery, suffering through sleepless nights in absolute agony. Only by holding my hand could she catch a little bit of sleep. The third document is an injury certificate and surgery record from 2 years ago. Taking that knife for her cost me half my spleen, leaving a long scar right down my chest to my stomach. The doctors told me to rest entirely. 3 months of rest, but I was back at the company in 2 weeks because she was fighting Tring Chi Vien for a critical project. Document 4 is a psychological evaluation report. During the 2 years her depression hit the absolute hardest, I went to every doctor visit with her. Her official diagnosis was severe trauma, while mine turned out to be a moderate anxiety disorder, brought on entirely by chronic sleep deprivation and dealing with overwhelming stress. The 5th document is a proxy shareholding agreement, back when she first returned to the Trent family company. Her position was highly unstable, so I quietly bought up retail shares under my name for her future use. 7% total, 2% more than what she planned for Julun. At the bottom of the page, I wrote a single handwritten line. She can take this anytime with 0 conditions attached. Document 6 includes a resignation letter and a company dissolution notice, not for her family business, but for the data security company I actually founded myself. After 3 years, it was valued at over 100 million. Just last month, I rejected a buyout offer for a solid 100 million. I had planned to merge it into her family tech division once things stabilized, but now I have completely dissolved the entire operation. The signature is dated 3 days ago, the exact day she left for Totang. Now, at the very bottom of the folder lies this small note. I wrote every single word out carefully. Tring Tianye. For these past 6 years, I do not owe you anything anymore. The shares you want are in the safe. Password is the day you stood back on your feet. You can give them to Chulam or anyone else. I do not care anymore. In the bottom right corner of the paper, I drew a little piece of candy. The exact fruit candy she gave me on the very first day we met in the hallway.
Chính tiểu nghệ collapse ngay bên cạnh kề.
She frantically calls my phone, but it is turned off. She asks my friends, but nobody knows where I went. Checking flights and high-speed trains reveals absolutely 0 traces. And even then, even the cafe I usually visit, nothing. The staff says they have not seen me in ages. I, Ho Hao, just evaporated from her entire world. 1 whole month later, Tring Tianye suddenly spots me on the financial news broadcast. The Noon Finance channel is broadcasting a live press conference. Right there on the screen, I am standing on the launch stage of a tech company, wearing a perfectly tailored suit, looking completely at ease, with the background board displaying a logo. It is a pretty unfamiliar tech company called Thumhao Technology. The news ticker flashes across the screen, absolutely impossible to miss. Former Tring T Tech Director Ho Hao just walked away with a massive 50 million yuan angel investment for his brand new AA medical recovery project. The host presses him with a question. Mr. Ho, you suddenly left Trent 1 month ago. Rumors say you had a huge falling out with Chairwoman Trent. Could you maybe tell us the real reason behind your departure? The camera zooms right in on his face. He stares into the lens and gives this perfectly polite but completely distant smile.
A look Trịnh Tiểu Nghệ had definitely never seen before. Maybe because of that 6-year itch everyone talks about.
He jokes around, his tone totally relaxed like they're just chatting. He says he spent 6 years at Trent, learned everything he needed to learn, and paid back every single debt he owed. It was just time to move somewhere else and finally do what he actually wanted to do. So, do you and Chairwoman Trent still keep in touch privately? He freezes for a second, that smile fading away. Boss Trent is very busy, and so is he. But if there is ever a chance for commercial collaboration, they would obviously welcome it. It is an absolutely flawless answer. Purely standard corporate PR talk. Meanwhile, somewhere out there, Trent Tiaonie is definitely glaring at her screen, digging her nails so deep into her palms out of pure, unbearable frustration. He knows she remembers exactly how much he used to absolutely hate dealing with the media. Every single time Trent held a press conference, he would hide backstage, preferring to cross-check boring data rather than ever step foot on a stage. She used to scold him, "If you refuse to speak up like this, how are you ever going to handle the big picture all by yourself later?" And how did he answer back then? He told her, "As long as you are standing right there in the front, I will always handle the background." But look at him now, standing in front of all these flashing cameras, handling everything so smoothly, it is like he turned into a completely different person. The new Thum Hao Tech office is located just 2 streets away from the Trent building. He is right in the middle of sorting a stack of documents, surrounded by sharp young guys in neat suits, when he suddenly spots that incredibly familiar figure.
Trịnh Tiểu Nghệ is standing right at the reception desk, face completely losing its usual composure. A quick flicker of emotion flashes across his
eyes, but he instantly regains his calm expression. He walks over and gives the receptionist a reassuring nod. "It is fine. Let me handle this one." Then he turns to his team. "The meeting is pushed back to 3 o'clock, so you guys go ahead and prepare first." The staff curiously glance at Trịnh Tiaonie, but nobody dares to ask anything, quickly scattering away. "Follow me," he says, turning his back toward the office without looking at her again. Walking right through the main co-working space, the area feels incredibly open, filled with green plants and huge floor-to-ceiling glass windows. The young employees are focused on their work, but happily greet him as he walks by. "Hello, Mr. Ho." He nods back at them, his expression perfectly gentle. Trịnh Tiaonie is probably thinking back to the old tech department over at Trent. In those whole 6 years there, no one ever called him Mr. Ho. They just said Brother Hao or Engineer Ho. He used to secretly mock himself. That fancy tech director title was really just being a glorified high-level coder, but right now he is truly the real Mr. Ho. Entering his office, he sits behind his desk and points to the opposite chair, inviting her to sit. His greeting is strictly formal, treating her exactly like a business partner. Trịnh Tiểu Nghệ refuses sit. She rushes the desk, slams both hands on the edge, and just glares right at him. Now watch this tension. Ho Hao, what is the meaning of this? 1 whole month of ignoring my calls and texts, and now you suddenly appear here hosting a press conference. Chairwoman Trent? He cuts her off, his voice completely steady. I am currently the person in charge of Thum Hao.
Holding a press conference and raising capital is just standard commercial business. I am not talking about that, she snaps back, her eyes going completely red.
Why did you leave? Why did you not tell me about any of those files? You were preparing this for a long time, weren't you? You wanted to leave for ages, didn't you? He stares at her in silence for a long time, then stands up, walks to the window, and turns his back to her. Outside, the bright sunlight shatters across the river surface into tens of thousands of pure, glowing fragments. Trịnh Tiểu Nghệ, he calls out softly. Do you remember the very first thing I ever said to you? She freezes. It was, thank you. He answers for her. 6 years ago in the Trent family hallway, you handed me a piece of candy. I said thanks. You just nodded and walked away. You never looked back, so you never knew. I watched your back for a really long time that day. He turns around, standing right against the light, making his facial features look kind of blurry and distant. Then you ran into trouble. True Lim canceled the engagement, and everyone avoided you like the plague. I was the one who approached you, saying,
I would take care of you. You asked why, and I said the Trent family did me a favor. Actually, no. He gives a faint smile. It was because of that candy.
Trịnh Tiểu Nghệ, that teeny bit of sweetness you casually handed over. I remembered it for 6 whole years. Her tears finally drop onto the polished desk.
For 6 years, I shielded you. I gave up my inheritance for you, helped you take back Trinity, and even dismantled my very own company.
I don't regret it, because I thought it was worth it. I really believed that one day you would turn around and realize I was always standing right here. This hits hard. He walks right up to her, using this brutally calm tone for the very first time. But that day in the study, when I actually saw that share transfer agreement, I suddenly understood everything. You did not look back. Not because you loved Chu Lim, but because you simply never even saw me in the first place. In your eyes, I'm just that illegitimate kid, forever hiding in the shadows, a pathetic charity case for the Trent family. No matter how much I gave, you just saw it as something you were automatically owed, because you thought I was just paying back a debt. Trinh Tiong-a, I don't need your payback. My voice drops. I just needed you to love me, but you couldn't even give me that. The office falls completely dead silent. Nothing but the hum of the air conditioner and her quiet, choked back sobs. That's not true, she shakes her head, tears streaming down. Ho-how, it's really not like that. I did see you. I always saw you. Then what about Chulam? I ask her, how exactly do you explain that share agreement? Trinh Tiong-a opens her mouth, but not a single word comes out. Look at you. You don't even know how to lie to me properly. I flash this incredibly exhausted smile. Trinh Tiong-a, I am just so tired. For the past 6 years, I lived entirely as your shadow. I was your crutch, your convenient little backup plan. Now that you can stand on your own 2 feet, it's time for me to finally bow out. You think so too, right? I don't blame you. I walk back to my desk and hit the intercom. Tio Tran, show our guest out. Ho-how.
Trinh Tiong-a lunges forward, gripping my arm tightly. Don't do this. I was wrong. I was so incredibly wrong. I'm not giving those shares to True Lamb anymore. I already took them back. Just please give me one more chance.
Just one time. I use absolute brute force to pry every single one of her fingers off me. Her hands are freezing, like freezing iron in the dead of winter. Just go home, I tell her.
My voice sounds completely flat, almost dead. From now on, if you need professional help, just go through normal business channels like everyone else. But for personal matters, there's no need to contact me again. I refuse. Trinh Tiong-a bursts into loud, heavy tears.
Oh, how? You can't treat me like this. You promised you would stay with me for a whole lifetime. I have said a lot of things, I tell her. I stare right into her bloodshot eyes.
I once said, when you can stand tall, we'll get married. You told me to wait a little longer. I warned you not to trust Chulam. You said he had his own hidden struggles. I told you not to give those shares away. You said I just didn't understand business. Trinh Tiong-a, I gave you 6 whole years, and yet not even once did you ever choose me. I pull the office door wide open. Outside is the busy workspace, a few curious people peeking over at us. But right now, I'm finally choosing myself. Trinh Tiong-a gets escorted straight out of Tham Hao Tech. She stands there completely dazed, right in front of the huge office building. The sun is blazing down, yet her entire body feels freezing cold. Her handbag drops to the pavement, stuff scattering everywhere, but she doesn't even bother picking it up. Her phone rings constantly. It's Chulam. She cuts the call instantly, but it rings again. This time, it's her assistant. The board of directors wants to know when you're back for the meeting. Tell them no meeting today. She answers with a raspy voice. Just say, I'm sick. Hanging up the phone, she slumps right down to the ground, slowly gathering her scattered things. A lipstick, a compact, car keys, and one tiny medicine bottle. That is the emergency stomach medicine I had previously prepared for her. The little bottle still has the label written in my exact handwriting. Take 1 pill when it hurts. Don't just endure it. She clutches that tiny bottle tight, breaking down into heavy sobs right by the crowded street. Over the next half month, she comes looking for me 3 more times. The first time, reception tells her Boss Ho is in a meeting. Now get this. The second time, my assistant goes down and tactfully turns her away. Boss Ho is on a business trip. The third time, she charges straight into the underground parking lot. She waits by my car until 9 at night. When I finally head downstairs, Lam V is walking right beside me. The young girl is wearing a simple white tee and jeans, hugging a laptop tight, chatting with me about some tricky algorithm issue as we walk. I tilt my head to listen, nodding attentively every now and then. Spotting Tring Tiong-nae, we both suddenly stop in our tracks. I frown slightly.
Boss Trin, is there a problem? Trin Tiong-nae's gaze darts nervously back and forth between us.
Lam V is still incredibly young, maybe 23 or 24. Barefaced, ponytail, eyes shining with that clear innocence not yet worn down by society. I want to talk to you.
Trin Tiong-nae struggles to keep her voice perfectly steady. I check my watch. Right now is really not convenient. Lam V's algorithm model has a small issue. We're actually heading back up to the office to tweak it. I can wait. It might be very late. I'll wait. I stay totally silent for a few seconds, then turn to Lam V. You go up first and prep the data. I'll follow in 10 minutes. Lam V nods, giving Trin Tiong-nae this very curious but slightly guarded look before quickly stepping right into the elevator. You can feel the tension here, right? It's just the two of us left in the garage. I lean against my car, hands shoved in my pockets, without even offering her a seat. Speak. What is it? Trin Tiong-nae suddenly chokes up. For the past half month, she prepared so many different explanations about those company shares. So many heartfelt apologies. She wanted to say she completely cut ties with Chulam, but facing my incredibly cold stare right now, every single word gets stuck deep in her throat. That girl, she hears herself asking, is she your new girlfriend? I raise an eyebrow. Does that have anything to do with you? Haha, you once said you loved me. Her voice shakes terribly. That was way in the past. I cut her off instantly. Trin Tiong-nae, we're completely over. I don't need to report my private life to you. Then what about me? She steps forward, frantically grabbing onto my shirt sleeve. For half a month, I've been miserable. I can't sleep, can't eat. My stomach hurts so badly. Oh, how I feel awful. She speaks while tears stream down uncontrollably. She knows she looks absolutely pathetic right now, completely humiliated, but she just cannot bring herself to care anymore. I look down at her hand, clinging to me for the longest time. Then I gently pull my sleeve away, grab my phone, and dial a familiar number. Hello, Dr. Lee? I am incredibly sorry for bothering you this late. A friend of mine is having some severe stomach pain right now. Could you please visit the Trent home? Yes, it is Trin Tiong-nae. You have the address, right? All right, thank you. I hang up and glance over at her. Dr. Lee will be here in 20 minutes. He is a gastroenterologist, way more professional than I am. Trin Tiong-nae just freezes. Anything else? I ask her. If not, I am heading upstairs. Work is insane right now. I turn to leave. Oh, how? She screams out right behind me. If I say it now, if I say I love you and want to be with you, is it too late? My footsteps halt. I do not look back. My voice echoes loud and clear through the empty parking garage. Trin Tiong-nae. Love is not some backup plan, and I am definitely not the safety net you choose only when you have nowhere else to fall back to. The elevator doors slide open. I step inside. I vanish behind the cold metal panels. Trin Tiong-nae stands there for a very, very long time. Only when Dr. Lee calls from her gate does she finally wipe her tears and take a deep, shaky breath. I am heading back now, she replies. Driving home, my last sentence keeps looping endlessly in her mind. A safety net, when there is nowhere to fall back to. So that is how I see it. But she wants to scream, it is not true. She did not notice my worth just because Chulam returned. It is simply because she got too used to it. Used to me. Used to all my endless sacrifices. Used to just turning around and always seeing me right there. So she completely forgot how to appreciate it. Back home, the doctor finishes checking her, prescribes medicine, gives instructions, and leaves. She stands in the middle of her massive 500 square meter empty living room. 2 people living here never felt hollow, but now she is totally alone. The silence is terrifying. She pours a full glass of red wine, letting the burning sensation spread all the way from her throat
down into her stomach.
She remembers how I never let her drink on an empty stomach. Every time she came home from a banquet, I always cooked a hot bowl of porridge to warm her up. Now nobody manages her. She drinks glass after glass. Eventually, the heavy intoxication hits, and she just passes out right on the sofa. Dead of night, agonizing stomach pain jerks her awake. Out of pure instinct, she reaches to the side of the bed, finding only freezing, empty space. She violently trembles from the pain, sweating buckets. She struggles, grabbing her phone to send me a quick text.
My stomach hurts. Where is the medicine? The message says delivered. Only then does she suddenly realize I might have already blocked her. Half an hour later, her screen lights up. I actually replied, leaving just one single blunt line. Call an ambulance or go to the hospital yourself.
I am no longer your personal doctor, President Trink. It is perfectly polite, yet absolutely and completely distant.
Standing far away, just staring through my phone, I can clearly picture her completely devastated and pathetic expression in this exact moment.
I suddenly remember something from a long time ago. The first time she fell during rehab, I scooped her up, smashing my own knee against the equipment until it bruised purple. When she asked me if it really hurt, I just told her, "You are hurting, so I feel the pain too. But now, even if she hurts, I truly do not care." Time passes fast, and half a year is gone.
Pay attention to this shift. The Trink Corporation celebrates its 30th anniversary today. As the chairman, Trink Tielnyi is absolutely forced to make an appearance.
She wears a stunning sapphire blue strapless dress, dripping in diamonds, her makeup done with absolute exquisite precision.
Totally flawless. But I know that person has dead eyes, and those dark circles still hint at exhaustion despite the heavy concealer. Hearing it from her assistant, her temper has only gotten worse over the past 6 months. She throws herself into work like an absolute maniac. The board veterans constantly whisper, ever since Ho Hao left, President Trent has practically morphed into a completely different person. The banquet takes place at their 5-star hotel with crystal chandeliers shining so incredibly bright. High society elites are swarming absolutely everywhere tonight.
Trinh Tiểu Nghê holds a champagne glass, mechanically chatting with everyone. She smiles brightly, but her heart feels utterly hollow, missing a very huge piece.
Halfway through the event, the main doors burst into a commotion. President Ho of Thumb Hao Tech has arrived. Is that the same Ho Hao who left? Word on the street is that his company's overall value has already tripled. You have to appreciate this turnaround. Breaking news says Thim Hao just secured the Medical Artificial Intelligence pilot project from the Health Commission. His future is basically limitless now.
Amidst all the gossiping, I step inside. I am not walking alone. Right beside me is Lum V, both of us dressed in formal wear.
I am wearing a custom-tailored black suit. Lin V rocks a simple silver gown, her hair pinned high to show off her delicate neck and truly elegant features.
She links her arm through mine, her movements completely natural and highly intimate. I can actually see Trinh Tielnyi's hand violently tremble, spilling her champagne right onto her beautiful dress. Her assistant hurriedly hands over a tissue. She grabs it, wiping hastily, but her eyes stay entirely glued to the two of us.
I obviously see her standing there. From a distance, I raise my glass, giving a perfectly polite nod before getting swallowed by a crowd of eager investors. I handle every single interaction with smooth finesse, laughing and chatting quite naturally. I am no longer that silent assistant standing in her shadow anymore. Lim V stays right by my side. Whenever someone offers a toast, she skillfully responds, "Boss Ho has a bad stomach. Let me drink this for him." Saying that, she downs the glass completely. I tilt my head, looking at Lam V, my eyes holding real appreciation and warmth. A kind of warmth that Trinh Tielnyi has never once seen from me. It is not that careful, slightly inferior affection I used to give her before. Instead, it is a completely equal, natural warmth coming straight from the bottom of my heart. Maybe Trinh Tielnyi is remembering right now that my stomach is ruined strictly because of her. Back when her mental state was completely unstable, acting up in the middle of the night, I stayed awake with her, eating irregularly, which caused this illness.
Now, someone is finally taking the drinks for me, and it feels pretty great. When it is time to cut the cake, the Trin family elder goes on stage, says a few words, and calls out for Tionei to make the first cut.
Under those blinding stage lights, her hands are visibly shaking as she holds the knife. After cutting it, she just wants to find a quiet corner and leave immediately. But then she spots me walking toward the balcony to catch some fresh air.
We run into each other right in the hallway. Boss Trin, I say with a nod, completely keeping my pace.
How? She calls out, stopping me. Can we talk? I pause and check my watch. 5 minutes, I tell her. Lam Vi is waiting for me.
Lam Vi again. Trình Tiểu Nghe bites her lip, tell me to follow her out. The night wind blows past, carrying a pretty sharp chill.
Are you and she together right now? She finally asks the question she has been holding back for 6 whole months. I lean against the railing and light a cigarette.
I never used to smoke before, at least absolutely never in front of her. Lam Vi is very good, I say, completely dodging her direct question.
She is highly intelligent, fully independent, and knows exactly what she wants. We talk perfectly together, sharing this great synergy in our work. And in life, I just pause, not saying another word. But I know she fully understands. What about me? Her voice turns completely hoarse, calling out, "Ho how."
I have not been living well at all these past 6 months. I pulled my funds from the Chu family, fought bitterly with the board, and went to the hospital twice for stomach pain.
You knew all this, right? I know, I reply, blowing out a smoke ring.
Your assistant did call me to say you were hospitalized for stomach bleeding, so I told the flower shop to send a bouquet over. Her eyes immediately light up.
That white tulip bouquet, you were the one who sent it? Yeah, I flick my cigarette ash. We're old acquaintances after all. Is that really it? Are we just old acquaintances?
The tiny hope in her eyes completely dies out between us. She takes one step forward, the heavy wind wildly blowing her hair.
Oh, I know I was completely wrong. I was foolish. I was blind. I deeply hurt you. But I swear I have genuinely changed my ways now.
I have not seen Chu Lam for half a year. I took the shares back, and I am trying hard to mend things with the board.
Can you just give me one more chance?
By the end, her voice is totally choked up, tears practically threatening to spill over.
Watch this shift closely. This is the first time Trin Tionei has ever lowered herself to beg someone. I stare at her, so long she actually thinks my heart has finally softened.
But then, I just crush my cigarette out and stand up totally straight. Trin Tionei, do you still not understand?
My voice is brutally calm. What I actually need is not for you to be obedient, not for you to change, and not for you to finally bother looking at me.
What I actually need is the Trin Tionei from 6 years ago.
The person who got red eyes from sheer worry just seeing my scraped knee. But that girl is completely gone now. I turn my back, ready to leave.
Wow, she grabs onto my wrist like she is clutching at a final lifeline.
If I change, if I listen to everything you say from now on, only look at you, and never make another single mistake, can we just start over again?
I turn my head, looking at her with absolute seriousness. Under the moonlight, her eyebrows and eyes look exactly as clear as they always did. But the look I have
for her is now so unfamiliar it actually terrifies her. I gently brush her desperate hand away. It is too late, I tell her firmly.
Trình Tiểu Nghe, there are some paths that, once taken wrong, truly ruin an entire lifetime. There are some people who, once lost, will simply never ever come back to you again.
You spent 6 years completely betraying me, so I used 6 months to entirely forget you. It is perfectly fair. I start walking away.
Feel how heavy this is. Not looking back even once, I walk through the corridor, returning to the banquet hall. Lam Vi steps up, quietly asking something.
I softly shake my head, taking the coat right from her hands, and we walk toward the main doors together. During this entire time, I never look back toward that balcony, even a single time.
The balcony wind is incredibly strong, blowing a freezing chill into the core.
Trin Tionei stands right there, her long sapphire dress flying wildly in the heavy wind like a completely torn flag. Maybe right now she is remembering many years ago, the very first time I ever stepped foot into the Tring family home. Back then, she was still the grand young miss, completely surrounded like the moon and stars.
And I was just the hidden, illegitimate child who could never show his face. While I was hiding in the dark hallway with entirely red eyes from crying, she casually walked past and just pulled a sweet fruit candy straight from her pocket.
What are you crying for? She asked, her tone sounding a bit impatient. Just eat something sweet and you will be fine. I took that candy, quietly whispering a tiny thank you. Later on, when she had her accident, everyone left, and only I stayed behind. I gave her 6 full years of my youth, slowly picking up the pieces and mending her total brokenness, bit by careful bit. But now I am completely gone, taking all that sweetness away with me. And finally, she actually has to taste an incredibly bitter ending for herself. The assistant quietly creeps over. Boss Trin, it is time to cut the cake. Trin Tiong-e slowly shakes her head. No more cutting.
She grabs the hem of her dress and steps out of the hotel, all alone, swallowed by the late autumn night. Her phone suddenly buzzes.
It is a text message from Ho Hao. He probably set it up on some automatic timer way beforehand, which explains the delayed delivery.
It just says one single line. Tring Tiong-e, this time I am truly done waiting for you. Wishing you a perfectly fulfilling life from here on out.
She stares completely blankly at those words for the longest time, then just slumps down on the curb outside the hotel, finally breaking into heavy tears.
Her crying gets completely swallowed up by the night wind, entirely unheard. But the real tragedy is that nobody will sit beside her this time and tell her to stop. No one is around to hand her a piece of candy and say that a little something sweet will fix everything. Nobody will quietly stay by her side for 6 whole years, just waiting to hear an I love you. She lost him, right as the 7th year officially kicks off. You ever realize a heartbreaking truth way too late? She finally gets that some missed connections are permanent, and our guy Ho Hao is never, ever looking back again.
3 whole years pass by. The 3rd spring arrives.
Thâm Hào Tech is officially holding its big stock listing bell ceremony. Standing right in the middle of the massive trading floor is the proud founder and CEO himself, Ho Hao.
Rocking a sharp dark blue suit, he looks noticeably calmer and way more confident than ever before. Standing right beside him is Lum V in a beautifully elegant white business outfit, casually holding a document folder.
She is currently the Chief Technology Officer, and she is also his beautiful fiancée.
Camera flashes go off absolutely non-stop. Reporters practically fight to ask their questions. President Ho, Thâm Hào Tech took only 3 short years from startup to going completely public.
That is an absolute miracle in this industry. What do you think is the real key to success? He just smiles.
The team, good timing, and a little bit of luck. We hear you and Trent Thie still have a very active working relationship. President Tring is actually here at the venue today. His eyes scan the area below the stage, finding Tring Tiong-e sitting completely alone in the VIP guest seating section.
She is wearing a black suit, her long hair chopped short, looking incredibly sharp, yet somehow fragile.
Their eyes lock midair for a second, before immediately looking away. President Tring is a highly valued partner of ours, he replies with total, absolute professional distance.
The Thâm Hào AI medical system is currently being tested at Chinti hospitals and has shown quite remarkable results so far.
We heavily appreciate Trent Thie for their support. Completely airtight, 0 flaws in his answer. The reporters then pivot right over to question Lim V.
Director Lim, serving as President Ho's beautiful fiancé and close business partner, how exactly do you view this incredibly unique relationship of yours?
Lim V answers generously. We are comrades, soulmates, and of course, lovers. The most beautiful kind of affection is fighting side by side and growing up together as a team.
Wild applause erupts from the audience below, and Tring Tiong-e starts clapping along with them. Clapping over and over until her palms turn completely red and sting with pain. When the ceremony finally wraps up, the many guests disperse.
Tring Tiong-e blocks his path right in the hallway. Congratulations to you. She holds out a gift box celebrating the company IPO. He takes it and politely replies, "Thank you, President Jing."
Congratulations to Tring Thie as well. I hear you folks just dominated the Southeast Asian market. Tring Tiong-e looks right at him. Have you been doing well lately?
Very well, he says with a smile. I am getting married next month. Invitations will be sent to Trinity.
Trịnh Tiểu Nghệ starts shaking uncontrollably, but she manages to calm herself down pretty quickly. Sending you my congratulations.
Lim V is a really good woman. He checks his watch. Apologies, I have another interview to catch right now. Let us catch up some other time.
He turns around to leave. Ho Hao. Trintellier suddenly calls him back.
He looks back, and she speaks in a super soft voice. I bought so many of those candies later on, but none tasted as sweet as that year. He stays quiet for a few seconds, then softly says, everything is in the past now.
He walks away, heading toward Lem V waiting quietly in the distance. Seeing him approach, she naturally links her arm affectionately through his.
The two of them chat faintly, before slowly fading from view. Trintellier stays firmly rooted to the spot, staring at their retreating backs forever.
You can almost feel the heartbreak here. The gorgeous spring sunlight filters through the hallway windows with warm heat, but she still feels freezing cold.
Ever since that specific autumn night 3 whole years ago, she has practically never felt truly warm again. An assistant quickly approaches. President Trink, the car is totally ready for you.
She takes one really deep breath, straightens her back, and marches in the exact opposite direction. The sharp sound of her high heels striking down
Echoes crisply across the marble floor. Every single click feels like a ticking countdown, ringing out just like a final farewell. Stepping right out of the massive trading center, she looks up at the sky. Super blue sky, perfectly white clouds, and incredibly gentle winds.
She suddenly remembers that specific little candy drawn right on the bottom corner of a sticky note in his old folder from years ago. That tiny, weightless piece of candy actually carried 6 whole years of passing time, plus an entire lifetime of heavy regret.
She gets into the car, telling the driver to head to the company. The engine starts, merging smoothly into the busy traffic. She tightly closes her eyes. Now in the 7th year, she finally learns how to stop looking back over her shoulder. But that sweet boy who once handed her a candy in the hallway, that same strong man who once lifted her right up from her wheelchair, that devoted lover who waited for her for 6 long years, only to finally walk away.
Every bit of that will absolutely live inside her heart forever, transforming into a permanent scar, a simple piece of candy, and a beautiful spring season that she can never, ever possibly return to again.